business overcome and stay ahead of problems that usually many retailers that we work with face and have solved successfully over the years. That being said, let me jump off the screen now and share my slide deck for the presentation today and ensure that I'm no longer a distraction on the screen. So like I was talking about, holiday season 2018, like all retailers here may already be aware of, is a very, very important shopping window. In fact, for a lot of you guys, a significant percentage of your sales for the entire year may happen during the holiday season. This is great news. This is like a period to look forward to, especially for achieving those sales targets. But then time and again, what we notice with holiday season is also the corresponding increase in package volume and congestions that shipping carriers handle. For instance, over the past decade or so, year after year, both FedEx and UPS, the largest carriers in the US, and this also applies for carriers across the border in Canada and also many other parts of the world, records are consistently being set for maximum package volumes. On an average, you see anywhere between 2.5 times to 3 times the normal package volume handled during the holiday season window. And sadly, we also see a corresponding increase in failure rates. And failures, by that I mean late deliveries, failed deliveries, mistakes committed by shipping carriers. And obviously, with an increase in volume, the incidence of those fates go up, but then 5x is an alarming number and something that we consistently keep warning businesses about. In addition to this, holiday season also means a lot of the shipments that you ship out are time sensitive. Christmas deadline or a Thanksgiving deadline is very, very important for your customers. And unlike other times of the year, it may be almost impossible, very, very detrimental for you to miss these windows. Now that we've established the importance of the holiday season, a question that automatically follows all the things that I just said from most merchants we talk to is, carriers know volumes are going to go up, but my business knows volumes are going to go up. So why is it that carriers don't accommodate these increased volumes without compromising performance? The answer to that may not be really obvious, but then when we dive a little deeper under the surface and look at the facts, what we end up with is, of course, the huge volume spike, the 2.5 time, 3 time volume increase during the holiday season. And to accommodate that volume increase, easy math would suggest you would have to increase the available resources on your end, be it labor, available trucks or planes, by the same amount, 2.5 times. But there simply aren't available enough temporary resources, be it labor or trucks or planes, to accommodate that spike in volume. And carriers, irrespective of how hard they try, they are going to face a shortcoming, especially with the increasing record volume set year after year. In addition to this, carriers also know customers don't have accessible alternatives. In many developed countries, be it US, Canada, many other parts of the world, carriers have a monopoly, duopoly over those markets. So even if you're concerned about the performance, want to move away from them, you don't really have alternatives, and carriers know that. They take advantage of that situation. Due to this, finally, in the world of logistics, especially during the holiday season, you routinely reach a situation where carriers are bold enough to charge more for their services, even though their performance deteriorates, and they take away all guarantees for their service that they usually have during other times of the year. For instance, holiday rates have been announced. You're going to pay a premium for several holiday shipments. Service is going to go down. You're going to see more packages getting delayed. But then the guarantees that you have for on-time deliveries, be it a money-back guarantee, all those have been suspended all through the holiday season for most major shipping types. If this happened in any other business, for instance, you would see a whole lot of customers moving away from that merchant, but then it's quite not possible with shipping carriers, and they take advantage of that situation. In fact, what I was just talking about in the previous slide, here you see a significant increase in the number of employees that you see for between the holiday season and normal times, the temporary employees that are picked up, the package volumes have almost doubled, but then the employee count really doesn't reflect that much of an increase. And that clearly indicates there is going to be a problem all through the holiday season. Moving on, now that we have established the holiday season important, there are going to be issues during that season. Now comes the important part about deciding what those issues are specifically going to be and how your business can safeguard and stay ahead of the problems and maybe stay ahead of the competition in solving them. So an important question in this regard is establishing which regions around the country are going to be affected most by service failures. Three easy things to remember when we talk about regions which will be affected the most. One, of course, metros, densely populated cities, your New York, Chicago's, Washington's, or Seattle's, cities that have high population density, have a lot of packages going their way, usually have much worse failure rates than other areas. In addition to this, far-flung states, states that may face, where packages have to travel significantly longer to get there, and that may face delivery area disturbances just because of network failures, etc. Every year, a few states like that turn up on the radar. States to watch out for: Florida, Alabama, Texas, places like that, which are towards the corners, have a decent amount of volume, are prone to facing issues during the holiday season. Finally, really remote areas, your Midwest, states there which don't have that much of a population, really rural villages, etc. Again, these areas, when you face a delivery issue, they often get compounded. Things that may be resolved pretty quickly in more populated areas may take longer to get resolved here. Even a small error that happens or small disturbance that happens in the network could affect packages for quite a few days here. So if you are a business which ships to these areas, your more congested Northeast or maybe the West Coast, right, like your remote areas or states that are prone to failures, what can you really do as a business owner to ensure that you stay ahead? The easiest advice we give in this regard is to monitor every single shipment in transit. If that is not possible, at least the shipments that you know are destined to reach failure-prone areas. Make sure your support team stays on top of them, understands what's really happening with these shipments, and is always keeping tabs on that shipment till delivery happens. Second, if you do have customers ordering quite a bit from these areas, manage customer expectations, keep them informed. Give them an early warning rather than receiving an angry call from them about a package that they expected but did not reach. Always keep them in the loop, and when things go wrong, make sure they're the first to get informed about it, and the information comes from your support team. And finally, consider using an alternate backup carrier. Every carrier has their own strengths and weaknesses. A carrier that you currently use may not be great at servicing certain parts of the country, but then an alternate carrier that you seek out may do a much better job there. Especially during the holidays, if you're actually looking to seek out some kind of alternate solution, this might be a good time to start, because carriers, they would accommodate your wishes, needs during the holidays, especially if you're able to also promise potentially some business after the holidays are done. Moving on to the next question or next related question in this regard, it's important to try figuring out what kinds of businesses will stand to be affected most by issues during the holiday season. That brings us to some obvious answers here. If you're shipping large, bulky items, case in point, maybe a mattress or maybe cases of wine that are heading out during the holidays, they're heavy, they're bulky. If there is a disturbance, your packages are most likely to be left behind, because in the place of one large shipment, probably 50 others could get to the destination on time, and that makes your large shipment, likely candidate to be left behind. If you're shipping coast to coast, especially out of a single warehouse, it means your shipments have to travel significantly longer, more points of failure, and if the single warehouse that you have is in an area that faces disturbance, pretty much all your shipments are going to be affected, especially if they're longer distance shipments. Highly seasonal businesses, let's assume you ship wine. You have a lot of wineries around you. Most of your sales happen during the holiday season. It means your local pickup points, local distribution centers is going to see a surge of shipments coming through just during the holidays. Compared to the capacity that they're equipped to handle other parts of the year, this may overwhelm them, and your shipments may actually face a failure even before they actually get into transit, and that's a bad situation to be in. If you're a business which is highly seasonal, you may not have quite noticed how much of a price you're paying in terms of higher percentage of delays if you aren't paying close attention to carriers. But then if you are shipping something like that, now is the time to pay attention. Talk to your local distribution center, ensure that they're up to date on what volumes you expect from you, they're equipped to handle that. Deliveries requiring special handling, same as large bulky items. If resources are at a premium, shipments like these definitely would be the first to get left behind. And that brings us to strategies around these problems. Think about it. If you have alternate regional carriers especially who service certain parts of the country really well, those are great people to start talking to and potentially divert some of the volume through them. Secondly, if you're promising delivery windows to your customers, ensure that you're padding these promised delivery windows to set more realistic expectations and to make sure the delivery commitments you provide, you still stay within them, even if they've been padded a little. A customer knowing the promised window was met is going to be a much happier customer than a customer who had a very, very tight window, which was slightly missed. So manage expectations, make sure you give realistic estimates to your customers. Finally, something that we notice a lot of really savvy shippers doing is, even if they don't quite have an alternate warehouse or don't have the capability to build another one, they start using fulfillment services. When you think about it, Amazon offers fulfillment services for pretty much any order that you would think of. If you have the time, if you have the ability, maybe set up a second fulfillment service for contingency reasons. If you know certain areas from your fulfillment centers facing issues, or maybe you're suddenly overwhelmed with the amount of orders, you always have an option to ensure that customer deliveries don't get affected. Maybe the cost of deliveries go up a little bit, but then in the long run, ensuring that your customers stay happy, receive their packages in time is well worth the tiny bit that you pay extra for using a second fulfillment service like Amazon. That brings us to probably one of the most important questions that we're going to cover during the webinar. In fact, at this point, I'm actually throwing open a poll here. I'm publishing a poll, which basically asks a very simple question. We know there's going to be congestion during the holiday season. We know there are going to be increased failures. So when a failure does happen, who learns first about a missed holiday delivery deadline? Is it your customer or is it your support team? And tied to that, how is your support team informed about a late delivery or a lost package? If you are like most businesses, I would assume a customer calls in angry about their shipment not having reached them yet, rather than your support team proactively calling customers. This is a very, very bad situation to be in, especially if you're actually not learning first about the failures compared to customers. Because even during normal times, when there is not a strict need for on-time deliveries as far as customers are concerned, a missed delivery or a late delivery means 1 in 3 customers who face that experience will never order from you again. But then research suggests during the holiday season, 75% of customers, just think about this, if a customer wanted something by Christmas, it did not get there, how likely is he to order from you again? Research suggests 75% of customers who face a bad or late delivery, especially around the holidays, will never shop from the merchant again. And that is the true cost of a late delivery, not the refund if a carrier provides you, and not the fact that the mistake was caused by the shipping carrier, not actually by your fulfillment team. That brings us to the really important question of how do I solve this situation? If you're like most businesses, most people in attendance here, you are used to learning about a late delivery or a bad delivery from an angry customer. That's a worse situation to be in. And if there's one thing you change about your fulfillment process during the holiday season, ensure that that never happens. Your support team is the first to communicate about a bad delivery and is able to fix things for customers before things go irrecoverably wrong when it comes to a late or a bad delivery. In this regard, first and foremost, let your support team be the first to know about a potential bad or late delivery. There are, of course, a few rudimentary tools offered by shipping carriers which let you achieve this. For instance, FedEx Insight or UPS Quantum View let you set up alerts, etc. They're not full-fledged. They don't cover all instances. If possible, use a technology solution. LateShipment, of course, provides a solution that gives you proactive alerts about failures and delays, etc. But then even if you don't decide to use us, find a different solution that gives you these alerts, tells you about potential delivery failures, predicts potential delivery failures before they happen. Ensure that once you learn about a bad or poor delivery experience, which is waiting to happen, reach out to the customer before they reach out to you. Pick up the phone, have your support teams call customers, explain the situation, apologize, do everything necessary to fix that situation. If it's an expensive order, if it's something that matters so much to the customer, ensure that you make provisions to maybe overnight a shipment, make provisions to ensure that somebody even, we even have businesses which hire Uber drivers to deliver packages a couple of towns over just to keep up their delivery commitment. Actions like that are remembered by customers, especially when you're among a sea of merchants where none of the others are really paying attention to last mile deliveries. This acts as a competitive advantage. Customers come back to you, customers remember that great experience they had, customers remember you reaching out to them, and they always ensure that you're rewarded for it. Finally, when you do get the customer on the phone, apologize, be sincere about it, make amends, anything possible to recover the situation for the customer, and generously compensate for the inconvenience, especially if you're in a situation like a missed Christmas delivery, etc. Make sure you go over and beyond to ensure that things are set beyond right for the customer. Again, the poll is still open. I will get to it at the end of the presentation. Just to discuss results, see if things are different in this group compared to what we usually see. Moving on from the learning about service failures part, few other things that we notice a lot of merchants doing, and a few tips about doing them right. One is offering free premium shipping with Amazons and Targets competing with you, making sure products are getting to customers in 2 days or less. I'm sure your business is under pressure to ensure that you have very, very short and tight delivery windows. You may indeed be in a position where you're offering free premium shipping to pretty much every order, at least orders above a particular threshold. If you're doing that, great. It's great that you're putting your customers first. But then to ensure that you're doing it in a cost-effective fashion, make sure you review your ground versus express maps. What I mean by that, if you notice the maps on the screen here, the map was created based on the state of Florida, right? The area in pink pretty much represents shipments or areas where shipments will get there in 1 day ground. The areas in blue right around the pink region represent areas where shipments will get there in 2 days ground. So even if you're offering free 2-day shipping, you can safely choose ground shipping, still reach about 33–35% of the country without having to pay for an air shipping option. If you're promising free 3-day shipping, that's more than half the country you can still reach in ground. Ensure that you review your ground and express map, make comparisons, and rather than making a blanket decision to upgrade all shipping destinations, all packages, look at the destination, ensure that your system is coded to be smart about when it needs to use an air service, more premium option, when it doesn't, to meet the same delivery commitments that you promise to customers. Make economical choices, make smart choices. And finally, smart businesses that we see during the holiday season They usually allow customers the option to downgrade shipping. You might have seen this on Amazon when you're shopping. If you want a slower delivery, they give you a credit. You can do that to your customers too. Maybe a $5 or $10 coupon is less expensive than the $20 you pay for 2-day shipping. If that is the case, give customers that option. Maybe not everybody needs that product in 2 days. Maybe they're not even going to be home. They're happy to take the $5 coupon and basically give you the liberty of shipping it in 5 days. Right? That's even if 10% of your customers choose that option, that's a pretty good deal for you. Ensure that that option is presented, coded in your mix of things on the checkout pages, and ensure that customers are given the option to use that. Moving on, a really, really important question, a very sincere question that a lot of retailers come up and ask us. With their order fulfillment dependent on shipping carriers, an external party, these businesses are keen on trying to stay open the longest during the holiday season, and they come to us asking for advice. Well, think about it in this fashion. Your biggest sales are possibly going to come during the holiday season. And the large sales volume that you get per day, imagine being able to multiply that by 1 or 2 days just because you were able to stay open longer than maybe your competitors, or maybe longer than what you did last year. So how do you do that? And what can your business look into to try achieving that extra few hours or extra day of opening just before the holidays? One, think about zone-wise commitments. Maybe your business doesn't stay open for shipping till the 24th for all the country, but maybe till the 22nd and 23rd for all the country. But then maybe states that are adjacent to you, maybe 30% of the country where you can reach in 2-day shipping, you may still be able to accept orders from them. Plan around holiday cutoff dates. Understand them really well. Pick carriers that have the latest cutoff dates. Ensure that the final set of shipments go through these carriers, and that may give you an extra day or a few more hours of staying open. Have a tiered approach. Maybe move to premium options automatically closer to Christmas. Shipping everything ground, maybe that forces you to stay open only for online shopping only till the 20th or the 21st. If you shift to 1 or 2 days, maybe your margins go down, but then your sales probably increase on the 23rd, maybe even the 24th. Finally, something that we are seeing smart businesses do in this regard, if you're in a pretty populated metro where you're locally very well known, stay open an extra day by finding, or stay open day of Christmas, or maybe the day before Christmas by finding a same-day local delivery partner. There are quite a few options in this regard, at least in 2018, not so much maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Find a partner like that, ensure that your deliveries, same-day deliveries are made right when the order is placed. Publicize this, make sure everybody knows yours is going to be among the last businesses open. That could probably rake in quite a few orders right at the end. That brings us to the end of content that I wanted to cover, but then something important that I wanted you to leave with. As I mentioned earlier in my webinar, in fact, our primary mission is to bring more transparency to the shipping space or last-minute delivery space. Apart from what we do from a business perspective at lateshipment.com, we take a lot of particular effort to achieve these objectives. The data that we have with regards to shipments is among the largest independent data sets of shipping-related data. We make it publicly available. We do everything possible to give insights about this data, put it out there for the world to see. We've done that for several years, but this year we wanted to go over and beyond that and make a particular commitment to help merchants with regards to holding carriers accountable and to stay ahead of any potential issues they may face during the holiday season. So we are putting together a program where we are extending this to all our existing customers. We have thousands of customers across the world, and we are extending this to all of them. We make a commitment to provide data and resources, especially around the holidays, shipping volume, carrier choices. This webinar is in fact part of that initiative, and we're putting together a series of blog posts, intuitive reports, pages that give you a real-time update on current status of holiday congestion, etc. We're making that available. We're making that available exclusively to merchants who work with us. And in light of also doing, being able to extend this to other merchants outside of our customers, we're throwing it open to a few other select merchants, especially people who are part of this webinar. In addition to this, providing a whole bunch of tools like a real-time tracking service, making them available completely through the holidays, making them intuitive, easy to understand, and easy to use for support teams, providing timely alerts about mistakes that are waiting to happen, helping merchants get ahead of problems and solve situations for customers rather than waiting for customers to in turn be affected and call in as an angry customer at that point. Providing proactive alerts about carrier performance, about things going wrong, as soon as we're able to see them, often days ahead of when shipping carriers are able to provide this information. Finally, ensuring that any mistakes made by shipping carriers, even if there's not a refund availability during the holidays, ensuring that you're made aware of the true performance of shipping carriers, giving you data about your supply chain choices, giving you data about your shipping carriers' mistakes, things where they stood out from others, etc., etc. Making all these things available as part of the program and available all through the holidays. If you're interested in this, please look out for an email from our team in the coming days, just before Thanksgiving. You're welcome to sign up for this program, especially people who are part of this webinar. We would be glad to have you as part of this. And it doesn't come with any commitments whatsoever. We hope these tools, the resources that we provide will help you stay ahead of the holidays. The value that you get out of it would be the satisfaction that we get from that program. That brings us to the end. Thank you very much for being part of this webinar. I had the utmost pleasure talking to you. I hope the content that we covered today will help you stay a little ahead of your competition and provide a little better service to your customers during these holidays. Finally, before I close out, go to questions. In fact, the poll that we had earlier, I see an overwhelming 80% of customers have mentioned that they learn about late deliveries from customers. And if there's one thing that you change about your fulfillment process during the holidays, ensure that this does not happen even to a single order, single mistake. That should take you a long way in ensuring that your customer experience acts as a differentiator, acts as a powerful tool to help you stay ahead of competition. At this point, let me jump in. If you do have any questions, feel free to add them. I'll try addressing all the questions. We do have a few minutes now. And so there's a specific question here. There is a question about package dimensions that are bound to be overcharged. Yes, we have seen this happen year after year. I can actually have our team share specific information about dimensional weights, the changes that we are seeing this year, what dimensions are going to be charged. Of course, you may be aware, it's been a couple of years now, pretty much every package through the Ground Delivery Network, Express Network is now weighed through dimensional weight and charged appropriately. So if you're shipping air, you're paying the price for it. Ensure that your packaging stays really tight. But that's something which is great advice to any business. Ensure that you don't have a lot of free-floating room in your packages. You're actually paying the price for shipping air in that space. Ensure that your packaging stays attractive, because a lot of customers, first thing they notice about the order is the packaging. The unboxing experience is really important to them. Ensure that it tightly wraps around the product. If you're able to maybe change your packaging where you cut down space by 10 or 15%, eventually that's going to add up to a lot of savings, not just during the holidays, even past that. So I will have my team specifically get back in touch with you about package dimensions that are going to be overcharged. I know for a fact that all shipments which are overweight are dimensionally larger than what is typically supported by the network. There's going to be an increased surcharge, significantly large surcharge for all these shipments to be handled during the holidays. I can give you the exact number on that from our team. We'll make sure that is followed up in an email within the next 24 hours or so. That seems to be the last question out here. Again, We are at the 30-minute mark. I'm glad we're able to close out on time and let everybody go back to their busy schedules before the holidays. Thank you so much for your presence here today, and hope you have a great day ahead and a great holiday season going forward.